Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. My name is Natalie Solomon-Brimage. I am a comeback champion, and I am excited to talk to you today about my journey and why I consider myself a comeback champion, as well as I'm sure a number of you have signed up for this phenomenal concert conference. Excuse me. So, something that I wanted to talk to you all about today was my journey and why and what has made me become a comeback champion. I realize that everybody's voice is different, that everyone has a different position and perspective as to what makes them who they are and what has poured into them to who they are. Today, I'm going to talk to you about my journey with chronic illness and what I've had to do and be resilient to kind of step into that. And what does that look like for me? We all have shared experiences that we have dealt with that have brought us to this space, that have tested our strength and challenged our spirit and pushed us to the brink of our endurance. So, about my journey, I was diagnosed with endometriosis when I was 19, so over 20 plus years ago. And during that journey that has followed me throughout my entire life until present, there have been ups and downs and areas where I've had to really tap into my resilience. It's been a journey of resilience, of self care, and survival, honestly. And as you all well know, and I'm sure, this is not a journey for the faint of heart. It's for warriors like yourself, like myself, that I have proven to be dealing with and maneuvering through what life has served up to me and how I've had to choose to respond to it. So, with my daily battles of endometriosis, and I was also diagnosed with adenomyosis and also with fibroids. And most recently, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And I'll get into that into a little bit. So, these are all the things that I have survived, and I'm here to talk to you about because I don't look like what I've been through. And I'm sure a lot of you don't. So, where does that leave us, right? So, when I was diagnosed, I was told I was in college, and they said, you were probably not going to be able to have children. You should just have a hysterectomy right now. And as in my day job, I'm a public health analyst, I'm a contract officer representative, and I'm also a business owner, a small business owner. And all of those things have played into who I am and how I have showed up and brought resilience to my world. And as you can imagine, living with these ailments have just been life changing and life altering. So being told at 19 that you can't have children and that you should just have a hysterectomy. That was crushing. That was devastating for me. I had gone to 25 different OBGYNs trying to figure out what is going on. And just to give you a quick background as to what endometriosis is, it is a disease of the reproductive system where the lining of your uterus that normally sheds during your cycle somehow finds its way outside of your uterus. And more often than not, a lot of women always just dismiss it as cramps. Oh, I just have a bad period. And it's not. They're not normal. 1 in 10 women have endometriosis, but it takes about 7 years for you to be diagnosed. I started my cycle when I was 10. I didn't get a diagnosis until I was 19. So there in and of itself. And then you add the socioeconomic situation, the social determinants of health. It puts us as Black women in a whole different category as far as late diagnoses, misdiagnoses, and just being dismissed for our pain. And when we have to go to that emergency room, and it's a lot. And on top of that, then I was diagnosed with adenomyosis. During my fourth surgery, I was told that I also had fibroids. So let's fast forward a little bit, right? So I get diagnosed and I have at least 4 surgeries. They tell me I have fibroids. And during the fourth one, they said it's at this time, years have passed. And they say, you're probably not going to be able to have children. You're going to have a hysterectomy. But before all of that, I had to have in 2017 actually, a number of, unfortunately, sinus surgeries. And they kept coming up and coming up, and I had at least 3. And during the third one, and during my recovery time, one day I'm leaving my house. I drive out of my house. I'd bend the corner, and then I'd go to look on my right-hand side, and my right-hand side goes black. My peripheral goes black. And then I look in front and it's black and I only see my fingers. And I'm thinking to myself, what on earth is going on? I turn my car around, I go back home, I call my doctor, and I tell her something is wrong. She said, come on in. We're going to send you to the neurologist to see what's going on and just give you an exam to make sure I didn't nick anything during the sinus surgery. Sends me to the neurologist. I come back with a diagnosis of a brain tumor. Now that's in 2018. I didn't tell anyone for quite some time. Probably 6 months to a year, I kept it to myself because I was still dealing with my endometriosis, adenomyosis, and fibroids. So during this time, and when I was recovering from my sinus surgery, I'm on steroids. The steroids cause my fibroids to grow. So now at 2018, I go back to my OBGYN and he says, your fibroids have grown and they've gotten to the size that things are happening and it looks like cancer. So we definitely have to operate and remove your uterus. So I'm dealing with my brain tumor. I was just told that I may have cancer and that I have to get all of this stuff taken out. So at this point, the reality of me not having children is very real to me and very devastating at this point. And seeing all my girlfriends go around and have kids and baby showers, it was hard. And, some things still trigger me to this day. And that in and of itself could be its own talk, if you will. So as I'm going through this, so 2018 comes, diagnosed with the brain tumor. 2019, I have my hysterectomy. My hysterectomy is botched. They transect my ureter. And then a 4-hour surgery turns into a 6-7 hour surgery. They try to repair it. It doesn't work. I'm hospitalized. And that started a succession up until today that I now have reflux in my kidney area. So I had 3 surgeries to repair it. None of them worked. And it caused me to be in and out the hospital. Unfortunately, I was diagnosed with multiple times of being septic and almost dying, going into ICU and having to have these restorative surgeries that didn't work and hospitalization after hospitalization. In 1 year, I was hospitalized almost 10 times and going back and forth and back and forth. And now I'm also still dealing with the reality of the brain tumor and figuring out, well, what am I going to do? What are my options? So fast forward as all my treatments are going on, and during one of my admissions, I'm in ICU. The sepsis is starting to run through my body, and the doctors are concerned. Now we're in the time of COVID, right? And I am in ICU. I'm feeling bad as a public health practitioner that I'm taking up a bed. And my doctors are like, you need to not worry about that because you are on the brink of death right now. And if you hadn't gotten here when you did, you probably wouldn't be here with us. And they were concerned that the fact that I was still having horrible headaches and my breathing was off, I had to go through all these heart tests and go get an MRI because they thought the sepsis had gone to my brain. And they also thought it had gone to my heart. Fortunately, it had not, but then I found out I had a heart murmur. And then they sent me to the neurologist to help figure out what's going on with my head or if the sepsis had gone to my brain. They send me to the MRI to get an MRI. They come back and say, well, it's not sepsis, but your brain tumor has grown. And you really need to go back to your doctors and figure out what are the next steps. So I'm dealing with all of these things, multiple things going back and forth. And it's devastating. This is during COVID. I'm in the room by myself. Nobody can come visit me really, but so much, it's very limited. And I'm susceptible because of what I'm going through. And thank God I never caught COVID, knock on wood. And thank God, because I can't imagine what that would have been like adding to this situation. And I'm going to the hospital. My nurses and doctors are amazing. I went to Walter Reed Medical Center, and then ultimately my neurosurgeon and my ENT doctor were at Johns Hopkins. Phenomenal team. So we decide that I'm still having flare-ups. I'm still going to the hospital. I'm still being rushed to the hospital on multiple occasions. And my doctor is like, we need to operate sooner than later. 2019, 2020 rolls around. My doctor's like, we need to do something, but we need to stabilize your kidney situation from the transected ureter because we can't operate. And if we do that, you're going to die. So we can't do that. We have to figure out a way to stabilize you before we operate. And the tumor has gotten bigger now. So now I'm still dealing with my endometriosis because having a hysterectomy does not cure endometriosis. So I'm still dealing with that. And then I'm dealing with the pain of the residual of the botched hysterectomy. And then the fear of what's going on with the brain tumor. The brain tumor is in such a space in my brain. It's behind my optic chiasm, behind my eye, right next to my carotid artery, and right next to my pituitary gland. As my doctor said, this is the trifecta. This is high-end real estate. One of the places you really don't want to have a brain tumor. And it's ended up being one of the more serious and severe surgeries that Johns Hopkins does. So thankfully, they were able to stabilize me. I went on medication. I was able to proceed with the surgery because they said, if we do not proceed now, we're going to have to take some drastic measures. So it was imperative for me to take that time and go ahead and have the brain surgery. November 2021, I had my brain surgery. It was 10 hours. I was in the hospital for almost a month, in ICU for 2 of those weeks, and then on the stroke floor for a week or so. And those times in that hospital, when I woke up, I was not allowed to sit up. I had to lay on my back. There was a laser going through my ear that would monitor if I stood up or not. And that had to deal with balancing my brain fluid. I wasn't allowed to walk because if I put my feet on the ground and put my pressure on under my feet, the pressure would have jostled what's going on in my brain and I would die. So I was bedridden and I wasn't really allowed to do much at all. Blood pressure medication. I was on several different blood pressure medications. My pain threshold was off the chain over 190, 180, almost 200, trying to stabilize me so I wouldn't stroke out. So all of these things are coming together, right? And living with this, it felt like I'm in an unending storm. The pain, the uncertainty, the endless treatments, it was so overwhelming. But what I learned, that in the midst of this storm, there's an incredible strength within each of us. And I had to find that during this time that says, I will not be defeated. By the grace of God, I will rise above this. I will become that comeback champion that I'm here in front of you now. And living with these situations, it really challenges you emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and your relationships and your support systems. And where does that put you? How do you look at your day to day? It brings into clear view what resilience is. And I know the topic of my talk is called Securing Your Oxygen Mask First. But before I get to that, I want to speak to resilience and how that has become my mantra. And as we all know, it's about finding that inner power to face each day with courage. When your body screams in protest and has betrayed you like mine had, or at least that's how I felt. It's about understanding while we may not control our illnesses or our situations, we definitely and certainly can control how we respond to them. And that's where self-care comes into play. So what can that do? And where does that put you? It's definitely one of the most potent weapons in your arsenal. It's not selfish to prioritize yourself and your well-being. In fact, it is necessary. Remember that safety demonstration on an airplane where they always say, secure your oxygen mask first before you help others? It's a powerful metaphor of life that I've definitely adopted into my everyday comings and goings, especially for what I've had to deal with. And it's important to take care of ourselves in these battles that we deal with and the battle that I have been dealing with, and I continue to do so. But let me tell you this, self-care goes beyond your physical well-being. It's also about nurturing your mind, feeding your spirit, and surrounding yourself with positivity. It's about finding joy in the little things and a smile, a kind word, a peaceful moment. And speaking of peaceful moments, this opportunity caused me to take a pause. I started my business, I started a company called Merake Life and Style. It's a lifestyle company. It's 2 divisions. One is the life part, which is my public health analyst side, my DEI consulting side, talking about women empowerment, microaggressions, and being a women's health advocate. And the style part is my decor, my love to design and work with my hands. And after surgery, the analytical part of my brain was a little challenged, and I needed something else to help combat that and balance that out. So I started, painting, and I had been an artist most of my life. My family's artist, been painting and doing other things around. And I was able to take those gifts, create a sacred space for myself in my house, my she shed, if you will, And I've done workshops and trainings on mental health, behavioral health, and my degree is in behavioral and community health sciences, my master's in public health, and my undergrad is in abnormal psych. So I decided to channel those thoughts and gifts and create a space for myself and create these spaces, right? So that my room was essentially my vision board from workshops that I had done with some of my girlfriends, some of my sorority sisters, and each wall is representative of a particular vision board in my life. One wall is my sorority stuff. The back wall is the name of my company. And then it's also my initials, and the furniture in that room is my grandmother's, who is near and dear to me, who is 101 and recently passed. And she's been on this journey with me every day, day in and day out. And then the other wall is my artwork that from my travels and a drafting table where I paint. But then one of the most important parts is my prayer space. And I use that space to heal, to cry, to vent, to sleep, just to get through what I was getting through. I had to put it on pause because of all my surgeries, because to date I've had 11 surgeries over the course of all of my healthcare challenges, but I'm still here. And then I look at what could I do with this space? A girlfriend of mine said, you know what, sis, there's people that would pay you to help create these spaces for you so you can heal and rejuvenate. And I said, all right, sure. Well, why not? So during my recovery, the time I was out of work for almost a year, thankfully I'm back. It's been a year that I've been back full time. I just got my 2-year report that my brain images came back clear. The tumor is shrinking because they were not able to get all of it, but they did have to remove part of my pituitary gland, which caused other issues that put me automatically into menopause and all these other healthcare challenges. But I'm still here. But I say all this because I was able to turn my pain into purpose. I was able to turn this journey into an ongoing blossoming of something else that I can help other individuals. And in this journey, there's been days that I've been wanting to give up. The pain and fatigue definitely were insurmountable, but I had to remember every morning I was able to wake up and start a new day and fight that battle. And each day, I had to realize I'm stronger than I think I am by the grace of God, and that everything that has been given to me is something that I could handle. I talk about this on my podcast with my sorority sister called Sipping Tea with Nat Z about women's empowerment. And I really had to think about what I have been through and how that resilience has continued as these years progress. So to everyone here, all of you battling silently, or you've told people, remember this. You're not your situation. You are not your illness. You are not your financial situation or whatever it is you're in or what has happened to you. You are a warrior. I am a warrior. You're a survivor. I am a survivor. And though this road has been long and challenging, and some days I just want to be like, I'm done. I'm over this. I'm over it. You have to understand within you, you have the power to persevere, the strength to overcome, and the heart to inspire others, which I hope I have done with you today. Through my journey, keep going. Secure your oxygen mask first. Take care of yourself so that you can pour into others and help others become comeback champions. And understand that together in your space, anything, you can face anything. And together we're invincible. And take care of yourself. And thank you so much for this opportunity. And I really hope I was able to inspire you in some way. Enjoy your day and God bless.